You were deceived from the moment you became old enough to understand. They planted ideas in your mind that looked like wisdom, but were nothing more than poison. Be selfless. Put everyone else first. Your needs don't matter. And you accepted it without question. You smiled. You sacrificed. You gave away your time, your energy, your prime years to people, to systems, to relationships that never once stopped to ask what it was costing you. And what did you receive in return? Mediocrity, stagnation, a life that doesn't even come close to the one burning inside your chest. Here's what Machiavelli understood that most men will go their entire lives without realizing. The world does not reward the generous. It consumes them. Power moves toward those who understand one unbreakable law. The man who ignores himself to serve others becomes a tool. And tools don't build empires. Tools get used, worn out, and thrown away. This isn't cruelty. This is clarity. Before you can protect anyone, you must become unbreakable. Before you can provide for anyone, you must become abundant. Before you can lead anyone, you must first master yourself. The investment begins with you. The legacy starts now. Drop sovereign in the comments if you're ready to take your power back. The man in the mirror is your first enemy. Most men spend their entire lives avoiding themselves. They stay busy intentionally. They fill every silence with noise, every empty moment with distraction, every second of stillness with scrolling, drinking, numbing themselves, anything to avoid being alone with the one person who sees them clearly, themselves. And the reason is simple. Deep down, they already know. They know they've been drifting. They know they've been comfortable when they should have been evolving. They know they've been making excuses disguised as reasons, calling weakness by the name of circumstance. The mirror never lies, and that's exactly what makes it uncomfortable. That's exactly why most men refuse to look. But this is where the Machiavellian mind separates itself from the ordinary. The strategist does not avoid self-examination. He demands it. He sits in silence and asks the difficult questions, the ones that cut deep, the ones most men spend their entire lives running from. Where am I weak? Where am I deceiving myself? Where have I been playing small when I was built for something greater? Because you cannot invest in something you refuse to honestly evaluate. You cannot upgrade a version of yourself that you're too proud or too afraid to examine. Self-investment does not start in the gym. It does not start with a book. It does not start with a morning routine. It begins in that raw, honest, private moment when you look at yourself with cold, clear eyes and admit, I am not yet what I am capable of becoming. That moment is the ignition. That moment is where empires are first created in the mind before a single stone is ever placed. Machiavelli understood that a man must become his own harshest critic before the world gets the opportunity, because the world will judge brutally. The world will expose every weakness you refuse to confront. Every gap you ignore becomes a vulnerability your enemies will exploit. So you audit yourself first, you fix yourself first, you invest in yourself first. The man in the mirror is not your enemy, he is your greatest project. Comment, I am the project, right now if this is hitting differently. Your energy is your currency. Stop wasting it on the wrong people. Every single day you wake up with a limited amount of energy, a limited amount of focus, a limited amount of mental clarity, emotional bandwidth, and creative power. It is a currency, and like all currency, how you spend it determines the quality of your life. Most men bleed this currency without even noticing. They pour it into people who drain them, into conversations that lead nowhere, into relationships built on obligation instead of elevation, into friendships that haven't evolved since high school, into family patterns that punish success and reward mediocrity. They give their best hours to employers who see them as replaceable. They give their deepest thoughts to people who cannot even comprehend the vision burning inside them. And then they ask, why am I exhausted? Why am I stuck? Why does every day feel like movement without progress? The answer is harsh and simple. You have been investing premium currency into bankrupt accounts. Machiavelli knew that a prince must be intentional with his alliances, not cruel, not heartless, but ruthlessly precise. Every person you allow into your inner circle either adds to your power or subtracts from it. There is no neutral, there is no middle ground. Every relationship in your life is either an asset or a liability, and the Machiavellian mind knows the difference clearly. This is not about becoming heartless. This is about becoming aware. When you begin to protect your energy like the rare and irreplaceable resource it truly is, something powerful begins to happen. Your thinking sharpens, your decisions improve, your output increases, your standards rise. And suddenly, the people around you either evolve to meet your new level, or they naturally fall away because you no longer tolerate anything that pulls you backward. You owe no one your best energy except yourself. Water your own roots first. Strengthen your own foundation first. Invest in your own vision first, because a man running on empty cannot build anything that lasts. Guard your energy like your empire depends on it, because it does. Drop "energy is power" in the comments if you're cutting off the drains in your life. The discipline of self-investment is the ultimate act of war. Understand this clearly: something the comfortable, the average, and the mediocre will never grasp. Choosing yourself is not passive. It is not a feel-good affirmation you whisper in the morning before going back to sleep. It is not a motivational quote you save while your habits stay the same. Choosing yourself truly, fully, relentlessly choosing yourself is an act of war. It is a declaration of war against every version of you that settled, against every habit that kept you small, against every voice, internal or external, that told you your dreams were too big, your ambition too dangerous, your standards too high. The moment you commit to investing in yourself first, you draw a line in the sand of your own life and declare, everything changes from this point forward. And the world will test that declaration. Make no mistake, the moment you decide to rise, resistance will show up from every direction. People who were comfortable with the old you will feel threatened by the new you. Friends who benefited from your lack of boundaries will suddenly call you selfish. Family members who normalized your stagnation will label your growth as arrogance. The system that was built to keep you predictable, manageable, and controlled will push back with everything it has. And this is where most men break, not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, not because the dream was too big. They break because no one taught them that resistance is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. Resistance is proof that you are doing something right. Machiavelli wrote that nothing is more difficult to carry out, more uncertain of success, or more dangerous to manage than initiating a new order of things. Let that sink in. Every transformation is met with opposition. Every man who dares to become more than his environment expected will face friction, doubt, and sabotage, both from within and from the outside. The discipline of self-investment is not just a personal development tactic, it is a survival mechanism. It is the armor you forge in the quiet hours before the world even wakes up. It is the weapon you sharpen in the gym, in the books, in the silence of your own relentless pursuit of growth. While others sleep, you learn. While others complain, you build. While others wait for permission, you act. Every early morning is a victory earned. Every book completed is ground conquered. Every bad habit broken is an enemy eliminated. Every skill you acquire is another weapon added to your arsenal. You are not simply improving yourself. You are constructing a version of yourself that cannot be manipulated, cannot be exploited, cannot be controlled, and cannot be stopped. That is the ultimate act of war, and you are the only battlefield that truly matters. Comment: I am at war with mediocrity. If you're ready to become the most disciplined version of yourself, silence your surroundings, amplify your vision. There is a reason the greatest minds in history sought solitude. There is a reason emperors had private chambers, generals had war rooms, philosophers had quiet gardens far removed from the noise of the crowd. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't antisocial behavior. It wasn't arrogance. It was strategy. Pure, intentional, calculated strategy, because they understood something the modern world has buried beneath endless notifications, opinions, social media feeds, and constant digital noise. The man who cannot sit alone with his own thoughts is a man who will always be controlled by the thoughts of others. And a man controlled by the thoughts of others will never, not once in his life, create anything that is truly his own. Think about where you are right now. Think about how much of your mental space is occupied by other people's voices. The news cycle feeding you fear, social media feeding you comparison, people around you feeding you doubt disguised as concern. You are walking around carrying everyone else's narrative inside your own mind and calling it your reality. This is not living. His is psychological occupation. Machiavelli understood influence and control with precision. He knew that the man who controls information controls the mind, and the man who controls the mind controls the outcome. So ask yourself honestly, who is controlling your mind right now? Whose voice is the loudest when you are alone in the dark? Whose opinion stops you before you even begin? Whose approval are you quietly, desperately, unconsciously shaping your decisions around? Because until you answer that with brutal honesty, you are not free. You are a refined prisoner walking around with invisible chains and calling it life. The Machiavellian path demands something radical in a world addicted to noise. It demands intentional silence, not emptiness, but purposeful stillness. The kind of silence where your vision becomes louder than your fears. The kind of solitude where you stop reacting to the world and start designing it. When you remove the noise, something powerful and almost unsettling begins to happen. Your intuition sharpens like a blade. Your priorities become crystal clear. Your purpose stops feeling like a distant dream and starts feeling inevitable, like something that was always yours, something that was waiting for you to clear the path toward it. You begin to see people for who they truly are, not who they pretend to be. You begin to recognize opportunities that were always there, but hidden beneath chaos. You begin to hear your own voice, maybe for the first time, strong, certain, and fearless. This is where real self-investment happens, not just in what you do, but in the mental environment you protect. Your mind is the most valuable real estate on this planet. Every thought you allow into it either builds your empire or burns it to the ground. Guard it, curate it, silence everything that does not serve your vision, amplify everything that does, because the man who masters his mental environment masters his destiny, and the man who masters his destiny answers to no one. Drop "my mind is my empire" in the comments right now if you are taking control of your mental space. Money, power, and the unapologetic pursuit of both. Let's talk about something that makes comfortable people uneasy. Let's talk about the deliberate, unapologetic, relentless pursuit of money and power. Not because money is everything, not because power alone defines a man, but because in the world we actually live in, not the world we wish existed, not the world people preach about, in the real, cold, indifferent world, money and power are the languages everything else translates into. Security speaks money. Freedom speaks money. Options speak money. The ability to protect your family, to walk away from situations that disrespect you, to build something that outlives you, all of it requires resources. And yet, somewhere along the way, you were conditioned to feel guilty for wanting them. You were taught that ambition equals greed, that wealth corrupts, that the desire for power is a flaw in character instead of a fundamental human drive that, when directed correctly, builds civilizations, creates institutions, and transforms entire bloodlines. This guilt was never accidental. Understand this clearly. The people who benefit the most from your financial ignorance, from your comfort with scarcity, from your tendency to spiritually bypass material reality, they are not poor, they never were. They simply needed you to believe that wanting more somehow made you less. It is one of the oldest control mechanisms in human history, and billions are still trapped inside it. Machiavelli stripped away comforting illusions and examined power as it truly operates. Not how it should work in an ideal world, but how it actually functions in this one. And what he saw was simple. The man without resources is always at the mercy of the man who has them. The man without power is always subject to the decisions of the one who holds it. Poverty is not humility. Dependence is not virtue. And settling for less than you are capable of creating is not modesty. It is self-betrayal disguised as contentment. So let's define self-investment in its most practical and powerful form. It means acquiring skills the market rewards. It means building multiple streams of income with the same precision a general builds multiple supply lines, because a man with one income is one decision away from collapse. It means studying wealth not as an abstract idea, but as a discipline, a craft, a system with rules that can be learned, mastered, and leveraged. It means placing yourself in rooms, industries, and networks where opportunity concentrates, where information moves early, where people are building instead of merely surviving. It means investing in your financial education with intensity, because financial illiteracy in a capitalist world is the same as being unable to read in a world built on written language. You are permanently disadvantaged, often without even realizing it. But beyond money mechanics, self-investment in power means developing an unshakable presence. It means cultivating psychological authority so strong it shifts a room without a single word. It means building a reputation so consistent, so solid, so undeniable that your name carries weight before you even speak. It means becoming the kind of man respected by powerful men, sought by opportunity, and impossible for the world to overlook or underestimate. Money without power is fragile. Power without money is limited. But the man who deliberately builds both, unapologetically, with discipline, vision, and the cold, strategic clarity of a Machiavellian mind, becomes a force the world must reckon with. And it all begins with one decision. the decision to stop apologizing for your ambition and start feeding it like your life depends on it, because it does. Your legacy depends on it. Every version of the future you could create depends on it. Stop shrinking, stop settling, stop waiting for permission from a world that will never grant it. Pursue your power. Build your wealth. Invest in yourself first, always and without apology. Comment ambition is not a sin right now if you are done apologizing for wanting to win. The art of becoming someone the world cannot ignore. There is a certain kind of man the world cannot ignore. You have seen him. You have felt his presence before he ever spoke. He walks into a room and something shifts. Not because of what he wears, not because he is loud, not because he performs for attention or signals his value. Something shifts because of who he has become internally. Because of the thousands of unseen hours he invested in himself when no one was watching, when no one was applauding, when no one was validating the process. He is the result of relentless, unglamorous, deeply personal self-investment, and the world feels it whether it understands it or not. This is not shallow charisma as modern culture defines it. This is not confidence borrowed from a seminar or copied from a highlight reel. This is deeper, older, more powerful. This is the gravitational pull of a man who has done the work, who has faced himself in the dark and refused to look away, who has built his mind, body, skills, character, financial base, and inner world with the precision of an architect designing something meant to last for centuries. Machiavelli understood that real power is never loud. Real power does not announce itself. It does not chase validation or beg for recognition. Real power is structural. It is embedded into who you are, and it operates whether you are present or not. Your reputation arrives before you. Your presence commands without asking. Your silence carries more weight than most men's words. And this level of power, this presence, this undeniable authority is never given. It is not inherited. It is not gifted. It is not stumbled upon. It is forged. It is forged through disciplined habits when motivation disappears. It is forged in the books you choose over distraction. It is forged in the conversations you avoid, the gossip you reject, the pettiness you refuse, because you operate at a level that has no space for the trivial. It is forged in how you respond to failure. Not with collapse, not with excuses, not with the victim mindset that average men hide behind, but with the cold, analytical mindset of a strategist who knows every setback carries information. Every loss contains a lesson. Every moment of pain is simply the cost of reaching a level the comfortable will never experience. It is forged in the standards you hold privately, the ones no one sees, the ones that exist not for applause, but because you decided that excellence is not an act, it is an identity. And here is the truth no one tells you. This path is lonely. There will be phases where people around you do not understand what you are building, where your discipline looks like obsession to those who have never committed deeply to anything, where your boundaries appear as coldness to those who benefited from your lack of them, where your silence looks like arrogance to those who confuse noise with substance. You will be misjudged. You will be misunderstood. You will be underestimated by people too comfortable to comprehend what transformation at this level demands. And you must learn, truly learn, to remain unaffected by it all. Because the man who needs validation from the crowd will always reshape his path to please them. And the man who reshapes his path for the crowd will never reach a destination that is truly his own. Let them misread you. Let them underestimate you. Let them question your methods, your motives, your silence, and your standards. Every day you continue investing in yourself, while they debate whether you should, you widen the gap between who you are becoming and who they will remain. The world cannot ignore a man who cannot be stopped. The world cannot overlook a man who outworks, outthinks, and outlasts every obstacle in his path. The world has no choice but to acknowledge a man who has invested so deeply in himself that he becomes rare, irreplaceable, and impossible to ignore. Become that man, not for the world, but for yourself first. Always for yourself first. Drop "they will feel my presence" in the comments if you are committed to becoming impossible to ignore. Burn the need for approval and watch yourself become dangerous. There is a prison with no walls, no bars, no guards, and no locks. Yet it traps more men than any physical prison ever could. It is invisible, it is self-created, and it is maintained entirely by the one trapped inside it. It is the prison of needing other people's approval to feel worthy of your own existence. And if you are honest, truly honest, you will realize you have been living inside this prison for most of your life. Every decision filtered through the question, what will they think? Every ambition reduced to fit inside what others are comfortable with. Every authentic impulse suppressed, every bold move delayed, every powerful version of yourself softened, diluted, and reshaped into something acceptable just to avoid judgment. And you called it being reasonable. You called it humility. You called it consideration. But the truth Machiavelli would deliver without hesitation is this. It was none of those things. It was fear, raw, unacknowledged, socially acceptable fear disguised as virtue. The fear of rejection, the fear of standing out, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of losing validation that you confused with love, respect, and connection. And this fear has cost you more than any external enemy ever could. It has cost you time. It has cost you opportunities. It has cost you relationships that should have ended long ago, but survived only because you were afraid to disappoint. It has cost you the version of yourself that was always possible but never allowed, not by the world, but by you, because you kept asking for permission that was never anyone else's to give. Now understand what happens when a man finally, completely, and permanently destroys this need for approval. Something almost unsettling is unleashed the moment you stop performing for the crowd. Your energy consolidates with ruthless efficiency. Every ounce of focus, creativity, and power that was once scattered trying to maintain other people's opinions suddenly becomes fully available to you, undivided and absolute. Your decisions become faster, sharper, and more aligned with your true values because they are no longer filtered through the slow, distorting lens of external judgment. Your boundaries become non-negotiable because they are no longer transactions meant to preserve approval. They become the structure of a man who knows exactly who he is and what he refuses to tolerate. Your communication transforms. You speak less, but every word carries weight because it holds no desperation, no hidden need for validation, no subtle plea to be accepted. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. And the world, which has been conditioned to control men through their need for approval, suddenly has no leverage over you. No buttons to press, no weakness to exploit. You become, in the most precise Machiavellian sense, strategically invulnerable. And this invulnerability is not coldness. It is not emotional armor built from damage. It is the grounded self-possession of a man who has invested so deeply into his own identity, his own values, his own vision, that he no longer needs external confirmation to stand firm. He becomes his own foundation. He becomes his own authority. He becomes his own validation. The most dangerous man in any room is not the loudest, not the most aggressive, not the one trying hardest to display dominance. The most dangerous man is the one who needs nothing from anyone in that room. Become that man. Burn the need. Free yourself. And watch how differently the world responds to a man it cannot manipulate, cannot diminish, and cannot control. That shift, that powerful, irreversible transformation begins the moment you decide that your own judgment of yourself is the only one that matters. Comment, I need no one's permission right now if you are burning the need for approval starting today. The long game. Why most men quit before the breakthrough. Most men don't quit because they lack talent. They don't quit because they lack intelligence. They don't quit because the dream was too big, the obstacles too great, or the odds too overwhelming. They quit because they misunderstand the nature of transformation itself. They enter the process of self-investment with the mindset of a consumer, expecting fast results, visible progress, immediate proof that their sacrifice is paying off. They want the reward before they've fully committed to the investment. They want the harvest before they've endured the full season of planting. And when results don't show up within the timeline their impatience has set, they interpret silence as failure, stillness as stagnation, and the darkness before the dawn as proof that the dawn will never come. And so they walk away. They walk away from their discipline. They walk away from their vision. They walk away from the version of themselves that was weeks, months, maybe even days away from breaking into something extraordinary, and they spend the rest of their lives carrying the quiet weight of wondering what could have happened if they had simply refused to stop. Machiavelli studied history, and history taught one lesson with relentless consistency. The men who changed the world were not always the most gifted, not always the most connected, not always the most resourced. They were the most relentless. They were the ones who understood that time is not the enemy of ambition. Impatience is. They were the men who committed to the long game while everyone else chased short-term comfort, short-term validation, short-term relief from the pressure of becoming. Understand this deeply. Transformation does not follow a linear timeline. It does not reward you in neat, predictable, evenly spaced intervals that reassure you that you are on the right path. Transformation works in silence. It compounds beneath the surface, invisible for weeks, months, sometimes years, building pressure, density, and momentum with no visible external proof. And then suddenly, without warning, it breaks through. Not slowly, not gradually, but explosively, completely, and permanently, in a way that looks like overnight success to the outside world, like luck, like fortune favoring a chosen few. But you will know the truth. You will remember the mornings no one saw, the nights you pushed through when every part of you wanted to stop, the moments of doubt you faced and refused to obey, the slow, grinding, unglamorous seasons of effort that showed nothing on the surface but were building everything underneath. This is the long game, and the long game is the only game worth playing, because anything built quickly can be destroyed just as quickly. But the man who builds himself slowly, deliberately, layer by layer, habit by habit, day by day, builds something that cannot be taken, cannot be shaken, and cannot be destroyed by any force the world throws at him. You must learn to fall in love with the process so deeply that the outcome becomes secondary. You must find meaning in the discipline itself, satisfaction in the standard itself, identity in the commitment itself. Because the man who is only driven by the destination will always be vulnerable to quitting when the journey becomes difficult. And the journey will become difficult. It will become lonely. It will test every reason you started. It will strip away every shallow motivation until only the deepest, most unshakable reasons remain. Let it happen. Welcome it. Because that stripping away is not destruction. It is refinement. It is the forge. It is the exact process through which ordinary iron is transformed into steel that cannot be broken. Stay in the game when quitting feels logical. Stay in the process when results seem invisible. Stay committed to the vision when the world around you has already moved on to the next distraction. Because the miracle, most men quit before reaching, is not a miracle at all. It is simply the inevitable outcome of a man who refused, completely and relentlessly, to stop investing in himself before the compound effect of his discipline fully matured. Your breakthrough is not behind you. It is ahead of you. And the only thing standing between you and it is your willingness to continue when every comfortable instinct is telling you to stop. Drop "I will outlast every obstacle" in the comments if you are committed to playing the long game no matter the cost. The final decree. Your new identity begins now. This is where it ends, and this is where you begin. Everything you have heard in this monologue was not motivation. Motivation is temporary. It comes like a wave, lifts you for a moment, and disappears just as quickly. What you have been given here is something far more permanent, a philosophy, a framework, a cold, unshakable code for men who have decided, not hoped, not wished, but decided that the life they are capable of building is the only life they will accept. From this moment forward, you operate by new laws. You invest in yourself first, without guilt, without apology, without hesitation. You protect your energy like the empire-building resource it truly is. You silence the noise and amplify the vision. You pursue money and power with deliberate, unapologetic intent. You destroy the need for approval completely. You commit to the long game when every weak instinct tells you to quit. And you become, slowly at first, and then all at once, the man the world cannot ignore, cannot manipulate, and cannot stop. This is the Machiavellian mind. Not a channel, not a brand, but a way of existing that separates the architects from the spectators, the builders from the consumers, the sovereign from the controlled. You arrived here as one man. You leave as another. The decree is simple. Prioritize yourself first, invest in yourself first, and watch your life transform permanently. Drop "I am the Machiavellian mind" in the comments right now and claim your new identity. If this monologue moved something within you, hit the like button, subscribe to Machiavellian Mind, and turn on the notification bell, because the men who discover this channel early are the ones who